TV Start Time Channel 113 and Free TV Channel 502 every Tuesday by 6:30 p.m. to 6:55 p.m. to relish the program Our Values, a must to watch.
Good evening, viewers. My name is Mariam Owoduni. Welcome to another exciting episode on our values this beautiful day. As we all know that our value guides our behavior, informing how we act, the decisions we make, and how we work with others to do what is right, how we respect one another and draw strength from our differences. Yes. And on today's episode, we are going to be discussing conscience. Yes, that is what we are discussing on today's episode, and I am not the only one here. I have a guest with me here, and I'm sure he is up to the task. He is going to explain in details what conscience is all about. Good evening, Barrister Obaditon.
Good evening.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Like I said earlier that we are discussing conscience on today's episode. Sir, what is conscience?
Well, conscience is generally defined, known as the ability to get distinguished from what is right from what is wrong. Mm-hmm. Maybe sometimes you feel like doing the right thing or doing the wrong thing, and you say, my conscience is pricking me. That means you are a human being that is sensitive to your actions, and you know that what you are doing is either right or wrong. That's the conscience.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, what does it mean to have a conscience?
Well, one of the things that distinguish man from animal is that conscience. Where an animal just eats the grass, take anything, bite, killed, doesn't care because it's just natural. But for man, from the moment you begin to be conscious that you are Miriam, you are Bariton, that thing makes you to know that when you take an object that does not belong to you, and like when you are very small, you say something is telling me. Yes. So you will be, in another way, we say you begin to have a sort of conscience or sensitivity. Maybe sometimes maybe somebody abused you, and you feel like slapping, but your conscience just take it cool. Take it cool. Something is restraining within you. It shows there's some things that make you to behave in that thing you are talking. Is what we can refer to as your inner man, or something that is you could call your perception of that issue. Let's go beyond that. You're on your way and you find money on the ground. Normally, as human being, you know, the land or the ground doesn't bring forth money. Yes. But as you approach or you feel like and you look at, what makes you to look back? Your conscience. Even when you took the money and you pocket it, I know when he's talking, you are still bothered. When you spend it, maybe you are married or you have children, and then one of them begin to have body temperature. Say, maybe the money I pick on the ground, maybe something. Or on the other hand, when you are young, you drop something, they say, who bring this on? It's not you. And you knew you are the one. By the time you do that, something within you come and say, why don't you tell mommy that thing you've done, you are the one. So these are the things that make man knowing fully well that he's conscious. However, the scripture tells us that some have severe their conscience. They've been doing all over. I'll give you a practical example. When you find a murderer or an armed robber, because he has been doing it over and over, it will come to a point that he doesn't feel guilty. He just sees it as another thing. But for somebody who has just been introduced and say, how are you making it? You buy any car, do that. You cannot join us. You say, what is this? It just come along. By the time they go into the first operation, and you saw how he managed to escape, for that night he will not sleep. Can I continue this job? Is this decent? Suppose the police pick us, what will my mother say? So that person is still having conscience. But when he continues, that conscience will be deadly. He still have a conscience, but it's no more sensitive, reacting, cautioning him not to do anything. Let's go into the Bible. There was a story of the first people created by God, a woman and a man.
Oh, okay.
And we were told that God told them, don't take these fruits. The day you do it, you will die. And then a stranger came when the husband wasn't around, which was the serpent. And he said, what did God tell you not to do? He said, he told us to eat everything except this one. I said, no, don't worry.
It's that one you should take.
That one's the one you should, because the day you take, you become wiser. And as soon as that woman took it, you know something happened. She now become, what's up? Okay, I'll tell my husband. Why is she telling her husband? Something is pricking her. That thing God told you, you have violated it.
Thank you very much, sir. That is well detailed. You are joining us on today's episode on our value. The topic we are discussing is conscience. Yes, and as our guest has said it here, that conscience is what is our inner mind that is telling us that, okay, this thing you are doing, are you right or wrong? Are you supposed to do this? Yes, that is our conscience. So how does our conscience work on our personal experience?
Well, our conscience works in many ways. And one Gandhi, that's Mahatma Gandhi, was the president of India during their independence. That was 1948. He wrote a book, The 7 Deadly Sins. And one of the things he identified, he said pleasure without conscience. Pleasure, one of the 7 deadly things he mentioned. He talked of wealth without work. But I want to look at the one that relates to this discussion, which is pleasure without conscience. If you look at the world today, almost every nation, black or white, red or whatever things, they take to pleasure. If they are not finding them in a drinking hall, they are at the beach. And as they do it, it also reflects in our mode of dressing, the way we relate with opposite sex and many things. So people take pleasure without conscience. It's not that they don't have conscience. They just felt they don't care. Even when the conscience tells you, if your mother finds you in this thing you are doing, sometimes you find a campus, they call them Olosho, they call them different names. And as soon as they arrive at home, they look as this their angel. That is pleasure without conscience. Over there, they knew. So your conscience, as you, I don't want to be poor like my mother. I want to do this one, and you begin to do things because you want to satisfy your pleasure. No, not your conscience. You want to satisfy your pleasure at the expense of your conscience. So it's different. And sometimes you have people who say God called them, either they're Christian or they're Muslim, and then in the process of doing gospel, they went to pleasure. They allow the flesh. And then you hear pastor takes member's wife. This one, imam, do this one. And then begin to, why is it? It is because of pleasure. Even though when the conscience is saying no.
It's not as if they don't have conscience.
They do, but they allow that body, that temporary pleasure, that momentary thing to override that conscience that we have. So conscience works in many ways. You are driving, and then as you are approaching the police, you know you don't have paper. Your paper is already due, and the police are likely to stop you. You have option. Either you run away or you bribe the police, because the police will not allow you to go. And in your life, maybe you have said it somewhere, hey, what is our leader? They are thieves. They are doing, and when you want, you're not planning to do it, and you're going to say, no, you said they are thieves now. So you too want to give them. Or the police have just joined, say, when I join police, when I join this, I will not take anything. Now you are going home. You don't have money, no food at home. So, but you have a conscience that is saying, but you said this one before. So you can make up your hand and say, look, go and provide. So those are some of the things that where conscience work. And apart from it, sometimes when you are just sitting down, and then you begin to perceive, you begin to think, and you begin to take a review of your life. In that revelation of your life, you begin to look at the area where you think you've not been doing well. And sometimes those areas could be when you're under pressure, you tell lie. And in reality, you don't like to. But here you have a boss. Miriam, why is it that you are coming by 8? Sorry, sir, my vehicle just broke down on my way. And indeed, it didn't break down. It didn't wake up in time. So those are many ways by which we show our conscience. And not let us use just on negative. Let's look at the positive.
Okay.
The positive aspect of conscience that your mother trusted. Everybody in this house saying, Miriam will tell us the truth. if anyone is going to take another man's article, not my son. And sometimes, you know, I read a story of a true story.
Okay.
This guy was traveling from Benin to Lagos because they were going for a social program. And then the police stopped them at Shagam. Where are you coming from? The police, they arrest the driver. And these young people, they are students of UNIBEN. I read the newspaper. The guy spent about 9 years in detention.
Wow.
Why? As soon as they picked them, they took them to the police station, said you harm robber. I said, no, we are students. Maybe you arrest the driver now, and you have said the driver, please. He said, if you don't give us bribe, we will detain you. And from there, they transfer them to Abeokuta. By the time they get it, they wrote on their record that they harm robber. While they are doing, they broke one of them and shot the guy dead. I read the newspaper, so I'm told DC. The guy had just been released through the Chief Justice of Ogun State. He said they asked him to carry his colleague, they were coming, his dead body and buried, and they were looking for this guy. And he wasn't even thinking it was done. He was in that position. One day they just put him to court, this and so you have charged for armed robbery. So and the guy said, no, I'm not an armed robber. And so they have to beat him until the level that he has to admit
that he's an armed robber.
That's an armed robber. And he was in that condition for 9 years because there's nobody to bear witness. Because in law, if you accuse somebody of robbery, there must be arms, because that's the armed robbery. There must be somebody he robbed. There must be, you know,
that will testify.
That testify
Wow.
as against it. So, but look at it. The guy just maintained and said, I'm not an armed robber. You know, assuming when they demand money, he was able to give them. He has the money, but just felt, look. So those are good, but it can be very costly. I'll give you the last one. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison because he believed that apartheid policy was bad. He was a lawyer, and for the period he was there, he can denounce and say, I'm not going to follow apartheid. I'm not going to do this one. And by the time he came out, look at, can you imagine somebody spent 27 years, not because he has killed somebody, not because, but because he believed in something he's pursuing. I give the last one. Shoyinka told Major General Yakubu Gowon that it is wrong of you and your government to have embarked upon attacking the Igbo over the Biafra issue. And for that reason, Shoyinka spent 3 years in prison. For what? Those are people who have conscience, and it still remain a symbol of conscience till today.
Thank you very much, sir. So what you are saying in essence is we should always follow our conscience.
Our conscience. But and sometimes when the alarm rings, don't do it. Listen, because eventually you do it. Either your conscience will trouble you if you are still having a very sensitive conscience. But if you keep on doing, then just begin to leave you. And eventually in the long run, you will pay dearly for it.
Have you seen it? I know you have a very, very different experience and you've seen different things happening to people when it comes to conscience. So have you seen or have you experienced something about conscience that you feel that person should have followed the shortcuts?
Well, sometimes you can find things that you look at, I wish I have not taken this one. Maybe it should have been this way. And on the long run, it may not be the one he would have loved to do. I've seen it. And how do we come across it? Sometimes you find somebody who should have gone to school. He has the privilege. He has the parent. But because of the temporary pleasure or youthfulness, you will see them running away from school and said, you wake on book is not the only way. And by the time, because it is not like that as bad, there are many people who took into either smuggling, buying and selling across borders.
Some will even say school na scam.
Na scam. Hey, even one singer was saying, you know. But on the long run, a day will now come when that book will have qualified you for a position. And then maybe your junior brother who had the privilege of taking the book and doing it, and then your conscience now comes, see what daddy was telling you. See the outcome now. If you have been dedicated, if you have been doing this. I remember I was handling the property. It was to sell it on behalf of a family. And so by the time we sold the property, it was going to about 16 million.
Wow.
And so one of there are 4 children, but not from the same parent. So when it was time for them to share the money, one guy was too, he's a man already, he's in his 40s. Was so, and the other one were taking it easy. And he was insisting again, and the uncle has to say, what's your problem? This is your lifestyle. Your father was in so and so country when he was asking you, and you keep on running away from industry. Now you are we are not going to share this thing. And the man has to be sober, because that is, we will say, they prick his conscience by that truth. So sometimes people have to tell you the home, they call it home truth. And then when it meets you at the right place, you now begin to, your conscience begin to trouble you. Oh, how I wish I've taken this path. How I wish I've not done this. And then let's come to a common one, with due respect to women. And then you see a very handsome man, good spoken, and he has a car. But not all men are good husbands, just as not all women are good wives. And then your parents said, this man, I'm looking, he will call you in secret and say, the man is handsome, the man is nice, but my conscience doesn't want you to marry. And these people are listening to us know what we're talking. And because you have been carried away by what we call love at first sight. Daddy, my life will be something without this man, my life. And eventually they allow you. You went into it. Remember, somebody was bothered because of you. And then you went to the marriage. Within 6 months, box you, your fire will swell up, you cannot go back home. And then how do you feel? And then your mind begins to trouble. Your conscience is grieved. Daddy wants me. But mommy said this, and many other things. So that's the way he will have taken. Another person will have come. And sometimes, you don't form some carry to the extreme. They've been in love with somebody, and all of a sudden the guy say, I'm no more interested. If he doesn't listen very well, and which you are likely to have as a journalist, you can commit suicide. No, suicide is not the only way. Somebody else will eventually come if you listen to your conscience. These are some things I think it does.
Thank you very much, sir. Can we say conscience comes with experience?
Certainly, because on a daily basis we learn, we pass through. Life is a voyage. And as you go in life, you experience a lot of things. Just as I was talking about marriage, I'm sure your brain will have talked about some of your boyfriends. You will have married. Eventually, you are lucky to have married the one. And those who are listening to us have to say, this man is a philosopher. What he's talking, I think I agree with him. Yes, we learn on a daily basis. And our ability to use our past to apply it to our present will help us to focus on the future. However, it's not everybody that learns. And sometimes in a country, there's a book, A Nation Without Conscience. It's written, I can't remember, I was reading the paper maybe when I was sorry, I didn't know what I did. But if you can Google it. Okay. It's written by an American author. And it was referring to American society. And you look at the social life in America. You look at the life of the people. And he said, is a nation without conscience. It doesn't mean all Americans are not without conscience. But when you take a high percentage, and when our people here goes there, they want to dress like America, they want to expose their body like America, they want high guy, they want to take this and take that and say that is life. So these are the things the author look at in that point. So the question you are asking, those who have gone there, they learn the negative. They absorb the wrong things over there, and when they come, they now put their trouser. And most of the what do you call those sagging? The sagging you are seeing, those who did it was because they went to jail. And when you when an individual is sent to a jail in foreign country, even in country, they will remove your belt and any other thing that you can use to commit suicide, to injure yourself. But those who didn't understand, they say, look. And then you even see some dirty pound outside and sagging, that kind of thing. So these are some of the things they learn. But others who are coming here, and then when they maybe at the just as a closing hour like this, and then the police raid those at the bus stop. If you see me and say, "Oh, sir, who will you pick as a police officer?" You don't pick that man. Many people because your dressing is a recommendation of your personality. You really see it in Lojo. So when they pick those people at the bus stop, say, I'm not a gentleman. And indeed he's a gentleman. Because he's just felt that was the in thing That was what his social group should be doing. And then they lump into the social, yeah, put it down. Yeah, we arrest you as armed robber. And this and many other things. And before you know it, they find himself in jail. And then they begin to what? Right? Then the mind will now come back. Why did they pick me? Many people were at the bus stop. And then we now realize because of the sagging. I'm not saying all sagging people are suspected criminals, but I'm just saying that sometimes we should drive as Omoluabi, as somebody who is so, and many other things. Maybe you may not be a drinker, but you may be a smoker. If the police meet you at a joint at an odd hour, either you drink or smoke, they will go. And sometimes their girlfriends are innocent. They don't drink, they don't smoke, but that was good. And when they read that place, they pick. And by the time they said, so these are the things, you say, do you like, of course we learn from conscience. The next time when you know somebody doing, you say, no, I've learned, never associate. I've learned my lesson.
Thank you very much. I learned from you too, because that is very broad and I can pick one or two from it, and I hope our viewers at home too have learned one or more on today's episode. Sir, you spoke about suicide the other time. You said some will commit suicide. Can you please tell those that are at home that suicide is not the option?
Well, one thing that we need to know was that life is a continuum. And life without challenges is not likely to be productive. So the fact that you have a challenge does not mean the end of your journey. Rather, you should take it that one challenge will take you to the next level. There's a book in the, we call it Tregido. It's a secondary school textbook when we were in secondary school. And it calls English book. Tai Solarin was a social critic, a teacher, and a conscience of Nigeria when we were very small. He wrote there, he said, may your way be rough. He said, I'm not wishing you evil or bad, but I'm wishing you what I wish myself every year. He said, when you see an American man, if his way is not rough, he will not know how to design plane that takes people. That because they are roads rough, they are fair. What are the alternatives? Those who are my age are likely to know. We call that book Tregido. It's an English textbook. So if you are listening to us, and I'm wishing may your road be rough, I'm simply saying, in the roughness of that road, you will eventually be able to, get a path that you can walk. So suicide is not the solution. In fact, it's coward for you to allow death to overcome. You should overcome that because there's something in you that the animal doesn't have, and which is the conscience we are talking about. So your conscience should be able to propel you and say, no, I will not die. I shall live to declare the glory of God. So you are the epitome, you are the symbol. As God is, so you are. So never contemplate, and I encourage those people who have it to forget it. It is not your own. You know why? If you die here, you're also going to pay for it because you are not the one that created you. Your maker will tell you came too early and you have taken your life. You are like this, you have murdered another person. So never murder yourself. Never let it come to your mind. It is the devil. Throw it away and tell them you are a victorious person and you'll be victory because what? You have a conscience that's better than that of the animal.
Thank you very much, sir, and thanks for joining us on today's episode. Can you please introduce yourself once again to the viewers at home?
My name is Moses Obaditon. I'm a legal professional, a motivational speaker because I've been here years back, and an author.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you once again because I really learned from you, and I hope the viewers too have learned one or more on today's episode. And thank you all for joining us on our values this beautiful evening. My name is Mariam Owoduni. This is where we will be ending today's episode. Bye for now.
Our values are values of values. Our values guide our behaviors day by day, informing us how we act, decisions we make, and how we work with others to do what is right. Our values never stop us from learning, improving how we think, heart, respect one another, and draw strength from our differences. Join Miriam Owoduni on OSBC TV Start Time Channel 113 and Free TV Channel 502 every Tuesday by 6:30 p.m. to 6:55 p.m. to